What's up? Hello everybody. In the video today, we'll then take a look on the PCG advanced tip and trick. And the first thing, we'll then take a look on the manipulation node. Those nodes will then help you to create the communication line between two different or multiple different PCG on your scene. We'll then take a look on the different and intersection. Those nodes by manipulation together, it will then help you to create really interesting thing for your PCG. And instead of scattering the single assets all over the your scene, we're then using the level instance and making use of the data assets. The second, we will then take a look on the basic of the facade point. In here, I'm using the PCG to create the housing. So there I have the sum of the really important point that we will then take a look, such as the interior point, the bounding point, the corner point, and the loop point. And the last but not least, we'll then take a look on the shape of the modular. How modular is within shifting the way that we are designing, we are creating thing. And the important thing for the modular is the modular pivot. And we will then together create the PCG canopy for the housing. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, this is our default scene. And in this scene, we have two separate PCG graph that I am using in here. One is the PCG house and another is the PCG jungle. And the house is in the middle and the jungle is surrounding the house, and also in between those two different elements will then have the space for the garden that I am putting in here. And to be able to achieve that, I will then need to make in the communication line between the PCG jungle and the PCG housing as I am having in here. And then what I need to do is I will tell the PCG jungle that, hey, this is the housing guy. Don't grow the plant, don't grow the trees on that space. To be able to achieve that, I will then need to use the node called by the get split data. And then in here, I need to specify what is the split data I want to wrap into this graph. In this case, the housing data wrap into the jungle graph. So I will then need specific it by the tag on the PCG housing. I will then put the tag naming it as the housing and then wrap that information, the information of the tag, onto the get split data. So by that way, I will then able to communicate between the PCG housing and the PCG jungle. After we get the housing data into the PCG jungle, we'll then need to do the sampling onto that data, because the house is built on this split, and I need to actually do the sampling onto that split to get the actual point of that split, and using that point to communicate with the PCG jungle and tell it, hey, there are the point belong to the PCG house. Don't grow any tree plant onto that point. But the original point I get from the sampler is quite small. I need to making it bigger to get more space for my garden, to making the jungle is far away from my house. So I'm using the extend modifier node to scale up the point and using that data to communicate with the jungle. We get the actual data from the PCG house, and now we need to making use of it. We need to make an actual use of that data to able to tell the PCG jungle not to overlapping the point of it onto the point of the housing. And to be able to achieve that, we will then need to using another node called by the different. In the different nodes, it will then looking for the two things. The first one is the source and the second is the different. And what is the source and what is the different? The source I have in here is the sampling of the landscape. I do the sampling on the landscape to get the point for me to grow the tree, to grow the plant onto the landscape, and that is the source. And now the next thing we need to hook up into the different is about the different. What is the different? And that is the actual point data we get from the housing, we hook up into the different. From the 5.4, we already have the reroute node, and it is the add reroute declaration node that we can use to making our node more convenient and rapid in anywhere we need it, instead of hook up the wire all over the space of the graph. And the interesting thing about that is that we can hook up the different with the different, and then it will make the thing different with the different. It might be super confusing, but it's really simple. Let me show you what I mean about that. In here, in my Django PCG wrap, I have several different type of the plant tree I want to grow onto the landscape. And what I want is the plant tree I going to grow on my landscape is not going to overlap each other. So that's why in here I'm going to use the different node to telling the second one trees is not grow onto the play up the first trees, and then so on for the next. And with the different hook up together, I able to achieve that kind of the effect. As I want all the plant and tree not going to overlap onto the point of the housing, so the primary source we need to hook up in here always is the point of the housing, and hook up it onto the different, and that different become the primary source, and we using it for keep continue with the different than the other trees, and so forth for the next. The different node is the one I found out is really useful, and I using it very frequently. Also, there have another really interesting node called by the intersection, and that is the next thing we are going to discover together. Okay, so what is the intersection node and what it is used for? The intersection node will then help you to determine wherever is have the one thing overlapping with the other thing. And then in my case, I use the intersection node to able to put the wall, the solid wall, onto the facade. Instead of fully the glass, I will then have the solid wall mixing with the glass in some place. And I'm using the trigger box as a overlapping source with my point that I use to spawn the glass facade. Let's say I have the trigger box, something like this, and I have the point of the spline. And what I want to do in here is then when I move the trigger box to overlapping with the point of the spline, I want it to do two things on the trigger box. The trigger box will then spawn another thing, and also it will then replay for the default thing that I already assigned to the point of the spline to spawn. So to be able to achieve that, I will then go into combine the intersection, which is using for determine the overlapping, and then the different. I will then hook up the trigger box into the intersection to determine the place is have the point that has the overlapping. And then also I will then spawn the another static mesh onto the point that has the overlapping. And also hook up the intersection result onto the different because I want the static mesh has spawned by the intersection. It could then go into replay for the mesh that has spawned by default of the spline. Let's do a quick summary on what we have so far so we don't feel get lost on the PCG wrap. We making the communication line between the two different PCG, PCG1 and PCG2 by the get reference with the get spline data. And then we use that reference to making the difference between the PCG1 and PCG2, telling to the PCG2 that, hey, this is me, PCG1, don't overlapping the PCG1. And then we do the another reference by the get actor data with the PCG1. We're using that reference to making the intersection combining with the different to create our housing facade. What is the level instant? And how can we make use the level instant with the PCG wrap with the data access? And why we should move from the scattering the single access all over the PCG wrap by the level instance. What is the benefit of this? And that is the thing we are going to discover together next. This is the basic of how the PCG going to work. We have the actor. The actor can be the splice, it can be the static mesh, it can be the landscape, and so forth. And then after we get that actor, we will then do the sampling. We will then do the sampler onto that actor to get the point data of that actor. Because we need that point to spawn the mesh, to spawn the whatever we need onto that point to create our PCG. And then instead of spawn the single static mesh, why would we combining it into a group of a bunch of the static mesh, combining it together, and then we using that scattering on over the point that we want to create our PCG, and that is the level instance is all about. Okay, so level instance is a group of the bunch of things that we want to use that small small group scattering onto our PCG instead of using single access. But what is the real benefit of using the small level to scattering all over our PCG wrap? Let's create our first level instance, and then we going to making use of our level instance. In here, I want to create a group of the banana trees. And then I will then using that group to scattering onto my landscape. And let's find some banana trees, some bushes, some plant, and then combining it together into a small group, all the level instance. Let's wrap all the thing, select all the thing, and then right click, select the level, create the level instance, and then go into naming for it. And after that, we already create the level instance. But what we need from the level instance is we need the data access of it. We need the data of it to using with the PCG. So the way for us to create the data access from the level instance is that we right click once again on the level instance that we just create, and then choosing the access action and finding the create the PCG data access. Let's bring our data access that we just create for the level instance in the previous step into the PCG and making use of it. Inside the PCG that we want to use that data asset, right click and find the node that called by the load the PCG data access, and that is the one we need to using. And let's hook up the data access of the level instance that we just create onto the access slot. Let me explain to you the setup I had in here to get the data access of the level instance up and running. It's quite simple that I do the sampler onto the landscape, and then after do the sampler on the landscape, I will then using the different node combining together to making sure that the plant and trees I want to use with the level instance is not going to overlap with the housing is the first primary source. And then also for the each group, for the each level instance, it will not all going to overlap each other, and that's why I'm using the bunch of the level different node combining together. And then after that, the result of combination of the different node, I will then hook up into the copy point. With the copy point, I will then have the pin to hook up the source, which is the data set of the level instance. And then the last thing I will going to need is the spawn static mesh node. But in this spawn static mesh node, we will then need to changing some of the setting of this to it's going to work with the data set or level instance. The first thing we will go into this is changing the methods of the mesh selecting from the selector by the weightage into the selector by the attribute. And then the second, the attribute name, we will need to changing the attribute name onto the mesh, and that's it. it will then up and running and loading the data assets from the level instance that we wanted to load it. And the cool thing about the level instance is that you can put the tag onto the component of this. You can put the tag onto the component of the group. The static mesh inside the group, we can put the tag onto it. And then we can grab that tag and using with our PCG by filtering out the tag trees, the thing that have that tag with a different way than the other thing don't have that tag. And that is the true power of the using the level instance. And also by using the level instance and the data asset, it will help us to reduce the resource consuming or the GPU consuming for our PCG wrap, make it more efficient to running in the real time. Okay guys, that is the first part of series 3 of the PCG advanced tip and trick. And hopefully throughout this video, you guys found the useful information that going to help you on the pursuit of the PCG on your own. And for me, I really interesting on the PCG and looking forward into the next year for the 2025. It will be going to boom for the PCG, and this tool is helped me a lot on the my workflow of the creating and the designing. And that's it. See you in the next chapter of this series. Ciao ciao.